This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
So is Vladimir Guerrero Jr. born in Montreal, Cuban or Dominican?
Cuban or Dominican or Canadian Dominican? I think technically he's got to put Canadian because that's where he was born. But the reality is, we know he's Dominican.
Yeah, I get that, but technically he's really Canadian. No, because on ESPN apparently somebody said they labeled him as Cuban. Did they? I didn't know that actually.
I didn't know that either. Maybe
I
his
didn't
mom
watch
was Cuban. Who knows?
Do you watch the home run derby? Because I find that shit boring as hell. I have like zero interest in watching.
Yeah, I really don't watch baseball until October. Though. I mean, that's the time when I really pretty much tune in. When the playoffs are going on at night and I need something midweek to entertain me between football games. Okay. That's when I'm watching baseball. And so this year maybe I'll watch a little more because the Marlins are in it.
Regular season? Wow.
What's that?
You're done with the regular season. Wow.
Yeah, I mean it just doesn't really do much for me. I just think they've tried to make it look. The game is better. They sped it up, right? They took out all the breaks, so it's not as lengthy as it used to be. But I'm fine with just watching highlights. I don't really need to watch the regular season. I can tune in, look at the standings whenever I want, look at the stats, and that's more than enough.
Yeah, it's a shame, right? 'Cause, like, I grew up, baseball was my favorite sport.
Right,
and
me
then
too.
By the time I got like to 10, I think football took over. It was like by the mid 70s, I'm like, I'm leaning more now to football than anything else. And then baseball, went to second place, and then eventually it dropped to third now behind basketball. And now sometimes, dude, it's like fourth or fifth behind some other things at times. It all depends. You know what I mean? It's crazy. Like, you give me a great UFC match and a baseball game, and I'm probably going to go watch the UFC match. How nuts is that, man?
It's a sad reality of the world we live in. But baseball did it to itself, though. It's such poor marketing, just such, the same teams every year in the playoffs. There's nothing exciting about it.
No, I'm with you. All right. After we spoke last week, offensive tackle Derek Plaz, which, by the way they come up with the spellings of names nowadays, it's just absolutely awesome. I've never seen Derek spelled that way. Well, hey, listen, my daughter's name is Caitlin. Okay, spell it.
Caitlin, I would assume Caitlan. No, Caitlin.
You know how I spelled it?
How?
Kaytlin.
Okay, well, listen, we're Hispanics usually put the Y in the names, right? I mean, I got a Y, and my oldest Jocelyn has a Y in it, so it's the way it is.
No, very rare you'll see anybody, spell Caitlin Kayt. It just, that's not normal. You know what I mean? Right. So I gotta say, Derek's parents, hey, we're vibing along the same way. All right, so this big mofo, because he is 6'5" already, 289. Yeah. So talk to me about this guy committing on Friday.
Yeah, look, Mario did a great job with the offensive line in this past offseason. So really what you're looking to do in your second full run is to get more depth, right? In case guys transfer out, in case there's injuries, whatever the case is. And so you look at Samson Okolola and Francis Mauigoa, the two 5-star freshmen that he signed in the last class. Those guys are 6'5", 6'6", 300 pounds. Derek is more of the athletic offensive tackle, right? Mauigoa is 330. Okunlola's 305, really great feet. He's more of the left tackle prototype, and Plaz essentially is the same. So you just continue.
Jake Long type, right? Because Jake Long was like a defensive end playing tackle.
That's what you have to do in today's game. You have to have that athleticism, and so Derek is very much of that same build, that same talent. I know he's only a 3-star. Fans get all, hey, what is it with all these 3 stars? Yes, you'd love to sign all of the top 100 kids like Alabama and Georgia and everything else. But
if you read your story,
yeah,
in that same story, you talk about how they're going after a couple of other big guys too at the same time. So it's not like it's stopping there. So,
Right. No, they're making the effort. The problem is you go 5-7 and you change the coaching staff, except for and Alex Cristobal and who's your offensive line coach. You make wholesale changes. It's going to be tough to get the elite kids because you got to have the relationships, you got to have the winning, you got to have everything else that comes with it. So, look, there are a lot of NFL offensive linemen who were 2 and 3 star kids. Some of them aren't even ranked coming out of high school, and they're just big mofo's who are athletic and get taught and coached up. The reality is, though, most offensive linemen at the high school level are not well coached. They're just big dudes who stand in front of guys. So this kid, Derek Plaz, has the body and he's athletic. And in the end, yes, he's not ranked very high, but he was committed to Penn State. So there obviously were other really good schools interested. NC State was another finalist for him. So good pickup for Mario. It adds depth to a very big and athletic offensive line room.
Devon Mitchell, tight end, ends up picking Oklahoma over Bama and Miami. What kind of a loss was that?
Well, listen, that's one of those things when you go out of state, right? You go into Texas and California, which is where this kid is from. He's originally from Texas, and he's basically transferred to go play his junior year in California. You're swinging for the fences, right? And sometimes you hit the fence, right? And that's what happened with Miami. I think they came in second in this chase. And sometimes, especially in this era, that's not all bad, right? If Oklahoma falls apart or this kid goes there and just doesn't have the right kind of fit where for whatever reason things don't work out, Miami could be the rebound chick. And sometimes in college football, being the rebound chick is the good deal. So I think it's good that Miami fought for him. They ended up finishing second, and we'll see what happens down the road. But it's not a huge loss. Miami's recruited the tight end position well in these years that Mario has been here. They've signed. They've got 2 guys signed from last class. They got 1 already committed in this one. A talented kid out of Vegas who's a little bit more on the smaller side, but real athletic and can be used all over the field. So to me, not a huge loss. Good effort by Mario to try to pull a kid that really they had no business getting.
Fins of 15 has a question for you. Can Miami be the 3rd best team in the ACC behind FSU and Clemson, or are they still a couple of schools ahead?
It's a good question. I think that's where they want to be by the end of the season. I think you want to be the 3rd best team. I think the problem is, and I know people may roll their eyes when I say this, but you have programs like NC State, who have had some success here the last couple of years where they're winning 8, 9, 10 games every single year. You got a team like North Carolina that you still haven't beaten in a while, right? Mac Brown and company. He's got Drake May. Those guys keep beating them. I think for Miami, yes, that's where you want to be at the end of the season. I don't know that that's where they are right now starting the season. I think they've got a lot to prove, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Miami does. I think, there's some guys at the cornerback position that I really want to see and get a good look at. They did a good job going on and getting experienced transfers, but now you got to mesh it all together and make it work in this new defense. That's gonna bring a lot more pressure and be a lot more aggressive. I think if the defense plays much better, which I expect them to, then yes, they can finish the season as the 3rd best team.
Okay. You got a story on Van Dyke feeling a little more comfortable. And last year, one of the things, well, look, I think Van Dyke's a decent quarterback. My real problem last year was more with the coach did not compliment Van Dyke and understand who he was coaching and where the kid excels. I'm clearly hoping that this coaching staff understands what kind of quarterback they have and where he excels. So talk to me a little bit about this story you wrote about Van Dyke and feeling a little better going into this season.
Yeah, I mentioned to you guys that I drove up to Vero Beach last month in the middle of the NBA Finals to go hang out with a lot of these Hurricanes. They were doing a little football camp up in Vero Beach, and so I made the drive. I hung out with Tyler for about half an hour. I talked to Colby Young, a bunch of different guys that were out there, Elijah Arroyo. And really, this is more about Tyler and kind of what he was thinking, because you go back to the end of last season, they were 5-7. They fired the whole staff basically. Josh Gaddis, things didn't work out. Tyler wasn't healthy. This story just sort of provides a pick-up point from there, right after spring football, when the reports came out that he was thinking about going to Alabama and would he hook up with Tommy Rees over there. The reality is, I think Tyler was more nervous about the hire in January when they didn't have an offensive coordinator, when he didn't know who Mario was going to bring in. Once he got a chance to sit down, hang out with Shannon Dawson, they went bowling together, just the two of them. Once they had some private time and they were able to talk it out, I think Tyler really got this idea of, hey man, this guy is so much more chill and relaxed compared to the guy that I was just dealing with in Josh Gaddis, who's very high strung, very sort of frustrated by the situation, all the injuries that they had, and sort of the tough situation that they were doing. So I think this offense, the way it plays, it's much more like Rhett Lashley's offense in the sense that he's going to be able to spread the field around, change plays at the line of scrimmage. Shannon Dawson's going to give him that trust where if he sees something that he doesn't like and he wants to audible out of a pass into a run.
Check with me, or is it a full audible where he has the play?
I think he has a lot more freedom than he did with Josh Gaddis. There were times last year when Josh Gaddis wanted them to run the football and he couldn't change the play. He had to run the football, and he would see something. He'd say, "Hey, I see a mismatch here with my outside receiver. I want to send him on a 9 route, or I want to send him on a post, and I can't do it because I'm locked into this play." And I think now Shannon Dawson is the kind of coordinator who trusts his quarterback to make the right decisions. And so Tyler wanted to be in an offense that allowed him to do that. I think in January he was worried that he may not be, and I think Mario did a great job working with him to find the right kind of coordinator, not just for him, but for the program, but ultimately to keep Tyler happy and to keep him from going in the transfer portal leaving. Now, the thing is, Tyler, I don't think ever was going to leave. He loves living down here. Okay, he's got a great situation. He's got a beautiful girlfriend, Morgan Pankow, who's a golfer at Miami. He's driving a Tesla. He's got all these NIL deals. No, he didn't want to go to Tuscaloosa or Notre Dame or anywhere else. I think he's just, it's business, right? You got to do what's best for you. You're supposed to be in the NFL, and you got to think, hey, is this coach going to work with me so that we find the right kind of coordinator, not just for this offense, but for me and to help me get to the NFL?
All right, good stuff. What are you working on The Athletic so folks can check you out?
Well, we'll have some more articles. The article I'm doing on USF will be coming out on Thursday. I got a chance to talk to Alex Goldich for a long time. Again, they're building that $340 million on-campus on-campus stadium. They already have the $22 million practice facility, which they didn't have before. So, USF is one of those programs that it's in a great market, in the Tampa market, 13th best TV market in the country. And they were number 2 in the country way back under Jim Levitt, if you remember, back in 2007, 2006, he had that thing rolling, and they owned UCF in the rivalry. Now UCF's in the Big 12, and they've won 4 games in the last 3 years. So Alex Goldich, really smart guy, did a great job at Tennessee as the offensive coordinator, did a great job with all of those players. They had some good guys get drafted this past season, and he's got an exciting offense, and he's a really, really smart recruiter. He spent 10 years recruiting at Iowa State and Illinois, and basically working his ass off, learning how to evaluate players at a young age. 23 years old, he was a recruiting coordinator. So, a guy that's kind of like Mario, where he cut his teeth in recruiting. And then became, took the next step and became a really good offensive coach, and so now he's heading up USF, and so there'll be a nice read on him. And look, we're 2 weeks away from the ACC Media Day, so there's going to be a lot more football conversation for all of those who are bored this summer on coming up here in the next few weeks.
So we're stretching it here in the off season, bro. We're just stretching.
That's right. We do the best we can.
Trying to get there, my brother. You know what the good thing is? There isn't like, players getting arrested or problems or investigations or anything. So, you know what? There's a good thing about being boring right now, okay? And all we're talking about is a recruit here. You gain one, you lose one, whatever. That's all right. At least it's not problems that we're talking about in the offseason. I think that's a positive overall. So,
yeah,
good show.
Different era at Miami, I think. Those kind of guys aren't on the roster anymore. You don't really see too many of those guys on the roster.
We just got to get through the bullshit, bro.
Yeah.
Mario, through these first couple of brutal years of turning over the roster and people learning the system and him building the depth. And I know it's hard because it's been 20 years of mediocre play. And so, just adding another year of mediocre play last year doesn't help you. It doesn't make you feel good as a fan. But I know in years 3 and 4 turn 5. Mario will be coming out of all of this, and then you'll start seeing, your own real good draft picks and all that, and you'll start to feel better about the program. They'll start winning big games. They'll start having big draft picks, and then then you can reminisce about 3-4 years ago when Mario got there and the struggles and all that kind of stuff, and then you can look at it. But it's just, we have to go through the BS, bro. Unfortunately,
Really do, yeah.
and we just got to give the man some time to fix this shit, and hopefully in another, I think years 3 and 4 is where we start to see the light and really start to see the fruits of all this work. The what's it called, the Derek Plazas, those kind of guys that a couple of years from now we're going to see them, playing well, and we're going to go, okay, this is what they were building for. You know what I mean? It just takes a little time, dude.
Absolutely. And I think they've got their mind in the right place. When you make an investment in a coach like this, you don't get Mark Richt at the end of his career. You don't get Manny Diaz, first-time head coach. Those are all important steps that you have to take if you're ever going to get over the hump.
Yeah. And you said it for a long time. Get the experienced guy. Get the guy that's built the program before. Here's the guy. He did it at Oregon, and he'll do it at an even bigger level here, because you'll get bigger level players to come to Miami than Oregon overall. So you're the stage has been set. It's been proven. You can win bigger here than you can at Oregon. You just got to get back there, and we just got to give the man some time and go through some rough patches, unfortunately. All right, follow him on Twitter at Manny_Navarro. More importantly, subscribe to The Athletic and support him and all the great writers there. Manny, as always, thank you, my brother. We'll catch up later on in the week.
All right, thank you. Take care, buddy.
You got it. There you go. Caneswear, baby. We love Brett, Jeff, all the great people out there at Caneswear. They make it happen. They've got practically anything and everything with a Canes logo on it. If you can't go personally to Caneswear, well, you can go online at caneswear.com. If you order over $99, you will get free shipping. They've got all kinds of Inter-Miami gear and T-shirts and messy T-shirts and messy jerseys and all that kind of stuff. So get on down to Caneswear. They got everything and anything practically with a Canes logo on it. They got Dolphins gear, Miami Heat. Miami Marlins are red hot. So go check it out, caneswear.com.